James was born April 10th, 1998. That happened to be a Good Friday. He didn't have any health issues. He wasn't a big crier. He wasn't fussy. He was happy. But it was different when he started having the nightmares. It was about 2 weeks after his second birthday. Cooked dinner, gave him his bath, took him to bed, and that was that until about 3 in the morning, and then I just heard screaming. This was blood-curdling screaming, like someone was killing him. He was saying, "Airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out." And that's what he was repeating over and over. "Airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out."
I had to respond. So I started to ask him some questions. What happened to your plane? It got shot. Well, who shot your plane? The Japanese. Well, how do you know it was the Japanese? And I think he said that night, the big red sun. Where could that come from? How could he articulate something that specific? So I kept going. I said, "Well, where did your plane come from?" And he said, "A boat." "Did your boat have a name?" And he said, "Yes, Natoma." Here was this history of USS Natoma Bay, CVE 62. This ship supported the Battle of Iwo Jima.
It was, what can you say?
It was a complete mystery. Where could he have gotten that information? How could he say something like that? I had a hard time believing it.
The next day I talked to my mom. I told her that, this is what's going on with James. These are some of the things that he's saying. And my mom said something that made me stop dead in my tracks. My mom said, maybe he's experiencing a past life.
My comment was bull. This is not happening in this house. I don't believe in that stuff. I said, and if that's what you're thinking, then I'm going to prove you all wrong.
I remember one time where James was talking about his airplane, and Bruce had asked him, "Do you remember what kind of plane you flew?" And he said it was a Corsair.
The Corsair was fast. Agility was very good.
I went to the internet, started to do some research, found out that there was no Corsair that flew off in Natoma Bay. And since there was no Corsair on Natoma Bay, all these memories, to be polite, it was just baloney.
One day, James and we were talking. I said, "I know you have those nightmares all the time. Who's the little man? Do you remember what your name was?" And he said, "James." And I said, "Do you remember what your last name was?" And he said, "Mm-mm." When I talked to Bruce, he was just like, he'll eventually get over whatever it is.
I found a list of men that had been killed serving on World War II aircraft carriers. I went through the list and found the names of 18 men that had been killed aboard Natoma Bay. It was really startling and almost scary. There was one guy killed during the Battle of Iwo Jima, and his name is James M. Houston, Jr.
I remember Bruce on the phone reading this to me, and he said James M. Houston Jr. was the only pilot from the Natoma Bay who had been killed in the battle for Iwo Jima. I know it. It's him. As soon as Bruce found the name James Houston, I really wanted a photo of him. I wanted to know what he looked like. It took me probably 6 weeks of research before I was able to find someone in his family. Ann Barron is the older sister of James Houston. Oh gosh, when she answered the telephone, I was really kind of nervous about it. You can't say, my 2-year-old is, a reincarnated person from somebody in their family. Someone who's 80 years old is just gonna hang up on you. So I said, we were just researching the World War II aircraft carrier called Natoma. She was just the sweetest old lady. So I said, we would love to have photos. Is there any way you could send me some pictures of your brother? And she said, sure, I'd be happy to do that. Believe me, I was checking the mail. Every day I was waiting for the mailman to come. And I got the package, ripped it open, and then as I'm flipping through these pictures Ann sent me, I was like, oh my God! So I called Bruce on the phone, he's at work, I'm like, you've got to come home.
And all of a sudden, there's a picture of James M. Houston, Jr. standing in front of a Corsair.
It was huge.
James M. Houston, Jr., before he was assigned to Natoma Bay, was in a Navy squadron that flew Corsairs. Shortly after Andrea found James M. Houston Jr.'s sister, Ann Barron, We had the opportunity to visit with her. We felt it was important, and we felt something important would happen. For me, I had this thing in my head, well, maybe this will close the loop.
By this point, we had told Anne the truth. So she knew about James's history. I remember he was instantly very comfortable with her. He didn't have any problem just, going up, putting his arm around her.
He was gentle with her, and he called her Annie.
I asked her about that, and she did say that Jimmy always called her Annie.
He was almost thankful to be next to her.
She said that the information was really shocking and surprising, but that she believed.
Knowing my name and things that my brother did when he was a kid, it's too amazing to describe. I think it's probably a reincarnation of my brother.
I was tired of my entire life revolving around the research for James Houston. So I really felt like we had to go to Chichijima and have a memorial service above the wreckage of where James Houston's plane had crashed.
How you doing, buddy? You doing good? Thumbs up? You having a good day?
Yeah.
Good.
Chichijima is 620 miles south of Tokyo.
Just the fact that we were there was a chance. It's like any funeral. You get to say goodbye. You get to close that chapter and move on. And I wanted it to be that way for James and for our whole family.
Going back to that place was a little unsettling. We really didn't know how he was going to react to it.
Bruce had prepared this really nice memorial service, and we brought a big bouquet of flowers from Tokyo to lay on the water. And initially, James didn't seem to have any emotion. He seemed fine.
Andrea said, okay, it's time to say goodbye, to leave it behind.
And it came time to throw the flowers on the water, and I told James, I said, James Houston has always been an important part of your life, and he's always going to be an important part of who you are as a person. But it's time for you to say goodbye to him, because you have to go ahead and finish living your life as James Leininger.
Well, he started to get visibly emotionally upset, crying. We gave him the flowers. He took them, threw them on the water, and then he just came to a salute. And he said, James M. Houston, I'll never forget you. And sat back down and cried for 20 minutes.
Saying goodbye to James Houston, I felt unfathomable sadness. The first half of my life was with him.
I think he was interpreting it exactly the way I intended him to. I think he understood that James M. Houston died, but that wasn't him. He was able to make that distinction.
I can't operate normally with those memories in my mind haunting me daily. I had to let go.
James really closed the chapter and the book on the James Houston past life and moved forward with his life. Now he's a 14-year-old kid who just started high school. He's a happy, healthy, great kid. You would never know that he has been through this amazing journey.